On today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to step up inside the court, take the ball early, and force more errors from your opponent. So let's get started. A lot of players message me online asking me how they can move their feet more efficiently to take the ball inside the baseline, rush their opponent, and force more errors. But the reality is, footwork is not the number one skill to taking the ball early. Reading the ball is the key. I am lazy, I don't move my feet anymore, and I'm not particularly quick, but I read the ball really well off my opponent's racket, and that allows me to step up inside the baseline quickly and then put some pressure on them. Now, there are three main keys to reading the ball more effectively and efficiently. Number one for me is I like to start 5 or 6 feet behind the baseline. The reason is from here, it's one-way traffic. I am only going to need to move up in the court. I'm never going to have to move deeper than this. So from right here, even if my opponent were to hit a shot 1 yard inside the baseline, I can easily just turn and stay where I am. So I don't have to read up and back movement. I just have to read up movement. The second main key, because of that, is I am always expecting my opponent to hit the ball short. So when I'm here, if I expect them to hit the ball short and they don't, all I have to do is turn and swing. But if I go right here and it is short, I can get up nice and quickly inside the baseline and let that ball rip. What I have found is most amateurs expect the ball to go deep. So they're already in this position behind the baseline. They expect deep. Their opponent shanks the ball or hits it weak. They act surprised, and now they're hitting balls with their ankle just inside the baseline, and those could be attacking opportunities. Now, for the third thing for reading the ball, I want to explain the levels of where you can get to. So most amateurs will see their opponent hit the ball. They will see the ball in the air, figure out if it's short or deep, and then decide to move up. So they needed visual confirmation of the ball to decide where they needed to go. That's level one. Level two is when I can see my opponent's body language and then anticipate where that ball is going to go. So if my opponent looked like they were stretched out this way, or they're hitting a ball out of their strike zone, before they even strike the ball, I can anticipate that they are probably going to hit the ball short. Now, the third level, which is what you should all be striving to get to, is you know what your opponent's going to look like after you strike the ball. So if I'm playing against you and I load up and I try to hit a really high, heavy ball to your backhand, the second it hits my strings, I know if I've executed that shot correctly. And if I hit that ball well, I already know that you're likely to look like this. And I know that if you look like this, the ball is going to go short. So a lot of times I already know that ball is going to be short when the ball has hit my strings. If I have hit an aggressive shot and I know I executed, I am fully ready for that short ball and ready to get up inside the baseline. Now, before we get into the footwork aspect of moving up inside the baseline, if you feel like you've already learned something from this video, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing to the channel. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that footwork is not the number one key, that's reading the ball. But guess what? Footwork does matter, so we are going to talk about it. Two big footwork keys for you. Number one, you're going to move with your outside leg first in whatever direction the ball is. So if someone gives me a short ball on my forehand, I'm taking a big step with my right foot first. So when I see a short ball, 1, 2, and I'm up in the court. I can literally almost walk into that shot, which you will see when I demo this later, but it's always with the outside leg. So sometimes I see people rush and their first step is very small, and then they're just kind of out of rhythm, right? They don't know where to be because they're actually taking the opposite steps. So when I see a short ball, I split, big step with my right and left, and I can easily cover a ton of ground to get up inside the baseline. Now, the second main key for your footwork is cutting off angles. So sometimes the ball comes short right through the middle of the court, but a lot of times it's coming on a cross-court angle that you need to cut off. So I'll see balls all the time in the service box moving cross-court, and people move laterally and get stuck behind the baseline and miss an opportunity. And so we're going to want to cut that angle on a 45-degree, right, left, right, open stance, inside the court, inside the singles line, and that is a great opportunity to play offense. So to demonstrate cutting off the angle, I've got a great player from University of Southern California in town, and I'm going to show you how she works on cutting off the angle, using that open stance footwork, staying low, and ripping balls inside the baseline. All right, so you can see we got Emma here. She's one of the best players at the University of Southern California, so a great player to do this demo. We've got the red lines down on the court to visualize cutting off that angle and that 45-degree movement so that we can get both feet inside the baseline and cut off this cross-court ball. And I like warming up with this ball with just drop feeds like this. I'm just tossing it out of my hand, but it's just getting her used to this movement, getting used to the timing. Right here, I actually have her slow it down a little bit just so you can really absorb it. Get low with that right leg and get the racket through the ball. She's also working on putting that double spin and aiming a little bit lower of the net, which is what we talked about as well. All right, so now we've got the shot from behind the court, and you can see I've got the racket set up on top of the net. This is for that lower target that we talked about, and that's okay because you're inside the baseline and you're going to be playing offense. So I just want you to see how when she takes this ball early, instead of hitting a neutral or defensive shot from behind the baseline, now you're turning it into offense. If someone hits a weak backhand down the line, you can cut this angle off and rip a forehand cross court and get a short ball or maybe even a swing volley or a volley to finish. All right, so we talked about how we're going to read the ball better, how we're going to move better. We also have 2 swing keys for when we step up inside the baseline. Number 1, yes, we are taking time away from them. We are also taking time away from ourselves. We have less time to hit. We are also inside the court, which means we have less court to hit into. So when we decide to take that ball early and we're inside the baseline, we don't have to take a monster swing. We can take a little bit of a shorter swing and accelerate from there. We've got a lot more momentum going behind us. We have less court. We're using the speed of their ball and it's on the rise. So there's no reason why we need a big swing. And in fact, that swing is going to make it harder to hit the ball consistently clean. So again, shorten up that take back. The second thing we want to focus on is because we're in the court and because we're going to naturally have more speed, we've got to add spin and actually, shocker if you follow my channel, lower the height on the shot. Now you cannot hit 5 feet over the net if you're 3/4 away in the court hitting an approach shot. That doesn't make sense. So of all the ground strokes you could miss in the net, this is the one that would make sense occasionally, and I'm going to stress that word. So when I get that ball on the rise, I come up with a shorter swing. I put a little extra spin on it, try to get that dipping inside the baseline, but those are usually my 2 main keys for taking the ball on the rise inside the baseline. All right, so I'm going to give you a drill today to help you read the ball better, work on that footwork, and work on the swing of taking the ball inside the baseline. So all we're going to do is we're going to throw down a line. You can put down a cone. You can put down a couple of balls somewhere just behind the service line. And all you're going to do when you're hitting with your partner is as soon as you know, you're going to call if their ball is landing shorter or deeper of the line. You'll just call out short or deep, okay? Like I said, I will probably have a good idea based on the shot that I give them. It might take you longer, but as soon as you know, you call out short and deep. Once you get pretty good at that, then the new rule is if it's short of that line, you have to hit that ball inside the baseline. If it's deeper, it's okay if you're in the green. And then you're going to match reading the ball with that first movement. So I want you to take a look at me and Emma doing this drill. You'll notice my feet are not moving that quickly, but I am reading the ball well, and I am taking a huge first step, which allows me to get inside the baseline, even though I'm not moving with incredible intensity. All right, so let's actually watch Emma demonstrate this drill, and you can see when I hit behind the red line, she's gonna be behind the baseline playing with a little more shape, but when I give her a short ball like that, I'm trying to get her to get both feet inside the baseline. She has an awesome backhand like you just saw, and I want her to use that more. But anything inside the court, right there, she stepped up. She didn't hit it great, and now she has to start over. She's behind the baseline playing with shape, and now we get a forehand with both feet inside the court. An absolute rip. But it's just reading the ball and anticipating body language. So right there, you can see I was stretched. She thought the ball was going to go short. She was correct, and she got up to that backhand super quickly. Right there behind the baseline, she doesn't have to move back, and now she can step up and rip that beauty. All right, let's take a look at these same points, but just from the side. And you can see she's got that home base behind the baseline, and then she's getting inside the baseline when she sees the short ball inside the red. And remember, when you take the ball 6 feet inside the baseline, you're not just gaining 6 feet, you're gaining 12 because the ball had to come to you and the ball coming off your racket. So when you get up inside the baseline on short balls, you are really rushing your opponent for more winners and forced errors. So keep working on this concept. If you can take the ball inside the baseline, that gives you a leg up on all the amateur players because moving up inside the court is something that's not easy to do. And just to prove that, I want you to watch this video of a couple D1 players I watched over the winter, and you can see how even they struggle attacking these short balls.